In 1978, Iran was supposed to become the Japan of the Middle East, rich, modern, westernized, armed to the teeth by Washington. 1 year later, the king was gone. An exiled cleric ruled from Tehran. Oil prices were exploding. Gas lines stretched across America, and 52 Americans were blindfolded inside a U.S. embassy, praying they would survive. For many people watching today, this is not distant history. It is memory, angry news anchors, petrol rationing, the word Iran becoming a permanent synonym for crisis. But here is what we rarely slow down to ask. How did one revolution in a distant country rewrite the global oil market? How did it weaponize religion in modern politics? How did a 444-day hostage crisis destroy a U.S. president, reshape American elections, and lock Washington and Tehran into a Cold War that never truly ended? And why are Gulf monarchies still living in fear of what happened in Iran in 1979? Tonight, on Ages Explained, we go slower, we go deeper. Because the Iranian Revolution was not just religious fury, it was oil, it was humiliation, it was memory, it was fear, and it still shapes your fuel price, your news, and the wars you see on television. To understand 1979, you must first understand the man who fell, Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi. In Western accounts, he is often described as a modernizer. He gave women the vote, expanded education, launched land reforms, bought American jets and tanks as if money had no limit. And for a small elite, life was good, very good. Oil wealth flowed upward. Tehran glittered. Royal relatives and connected businessmen lived like Europeans. But for millions of ordinary Iranians, the country felt like a golden cage. Prices rose faster than wages. Inequality widened. Foreign advisors seemed everywhere, and criticism came at a cost. The Shah's secret police, SAVAK, monitored, imprisoned, and tortured opponents. Fear became part of daily life. Then came the symbols. In 1971, the Shah staged a celebration of 2,500 years of Persian monarchy. Imported champagne, French chefs, golden tents in the desert. To many Iranians, it felt obscene, foreign luxury in a country under strain. 5 years later, he made an even deeper mistake. He changed the calendar. Iran no longer counted years from the Prophet's migration. It now counted from the reign of Cyrus the Great. To devout Muslims, it felt as if the king was trying to erase Islam from time itself. Imagine being a religious shopkeeper. Your costs are rising. You see foreign engineers and royal insiders getting rich from oil, and now even your calendar no longer belongs to you. You did not need to be a radical to feel something was deeply wrong. Opposition came from many directions: leftists, nationalists, students, clerics. But one man would become the symbol: Ruhollah Khomeini. Exiled for criticizing the Shah and his alliance with the United States, Khomeini spoke from abroad, from Iraq, then France. His sermons were recorded on cassette tapes and smuggled into Iran, played in homes, mosques, and shops. A revolution before the internet. Western intelligence underestimated him. Some believed he would act as a moral figure, a balance against communists, an Iranian Gandhi. They were wrong. For many young Iranians, his voice carried power, not wealth, not weapons. Moral certainty. He spoke of dignity, justice, ending humiliation, old, austere, unimpressed by oil money, and that made him dangerous. By 1978, protests spread. Then the oil workers stopped. Iran's oil production collapsed by nearly 5 million barrels a day. 7% of global supply vanished. On paper, the world could survive. Psychologically, it panicked. Traders hoarded, prices jumped, governments scrambled. Within a year, oil prices more than doubled, fuel lines returned, inflation surged. Memories of the 1973 oil shock came roaring back. What many people never realized was this: the second oil shock did not just cause pain, It permanently changed the world. New oil fields were developed in Alaska and the North Sea. Car manufacturers shifted toward fuel efficiency. Nuclear and renewable energy gained political support. Oil demand took years to recover, and in 1986 prices collapsed, a delayed aftershock of 1979. So when you remember standing in line for petrol, ask yourself this: did you know the heart of the story was not greed, but terrified oil workers striking against a regime they believed had lost its soul? In January 1979, the Shah left Iran, officially for rest, in reality, in flight. On February 1st, Khomeini returned. Millions filled the streets, the monarchy collapsed, an Islamic Republic was declared. But the revolution was not finished. Inside Iran, a quiet struggle began. Leftists wanted socialism, liberals wanted democracy, moderates wanted stability, Khomeini wanted control. For a brief moment, Iran had a provisional government led by a moderate. Mehdi Bazargan tried to keep relations with the West alive. Then everything changed. On November 4, 1979, students stormed the U.S. Embassy in Tehran. 66 Americans were taken hostage. 52 would remain captive for 444 days. The demand was simple: return the Shah to Iran. At first, some Iranian leaders thought it would be temporary. Then Khomeini endorsed it. The takeover became sacred. Moderates resigned. Power consolidated. Imagine being an embassy worker that morning. Paperwork, visas, routine. By nightfall, blindfolded, hands tied, shouting in a language you do not understand. For 444 days, the hostages lived with uncertainty, threats, isolation, public humiliation. Families watched night after night, not knowing. Now imagine the other side, a young Iranian student, raised on stories of the 1953 coup, when the U.S. and Britain helped remove Iran's elected prime minister after he nationalized oil. To him, the embassy was not an office. It was history. Storming it felt like justice. In America, the crisis destroyed President Jimmy Carter. A failed rescue mission deepened the humiliation. When the hostages were released, it was minutes after Ronald Reagan took office. Symbolism mattered. A new era had begun. The revolution terrified the Gulf, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, the UAE. They saw a king fall and imagined their own reflection. In 1981, they formed the Gulf Cooperation Council. Security first, stability above all. Surveillance expanded, opposition crushed, not out of cruelty alone, but fear of another 1979. Western powers responded differently. Permanent military presence, naval patrols, protection of oil at all costs, religion, oil, security, entangled forever. The hostage crisis ended, but peace never came. Diplomatic ties were cut, sanctions hardened. In Washington, Iran became an enemy. In Tehran, America became the great Satan. Wars followed. Tankers burned, nuclear fears grew, and every spike in oil prices still echoes that year. It is easy to call the Iranian Revolution religious. That is incomplete. It was also humiliation, inequality, memory. Religion provided language. Oil provided power. Politics provided the stage. And the result reshaped the modern world. So the next time you hear about sanctions, or tensions in the Strait of Hormuz, or fuel prices climbing again, remember this: you are not living in the shadow of a distant uprising. You are living in the aftershock of 1979, the year a king fell, an embassy was seized, and the Middle East stopped being just a gas station and became a permanent fault line. This is ages explained. History for the generations who lived it.